All right, welcome back. We've got to organize some cars around here. So, guess we need to start by getting the crossfire out of here so we can get the prototype back on the working side of the garage. So, I'm going to get rolling here. All right, we are back on our way with this thing. Maybe I need to dust it off a tad, and then we can take a look at what we're doing. All right, so we've got this wonderful conglomeration here. Anyways, we kind of left off and we were working on steel fenders, and I put in some bars. I guess you can kind of see one over here to help support that. So yeah, hopefully that works out. I'm thinking it's almost like maybe a tad bit too small, but I think we should have enough reinforcements laying around. It shouldn't really bother anything. So let's just grab our fender boys here. Kind of slap them on. The equivalent of a little something like that. There we go. That's not too bad. That's looking decent. Couple of my fender edges, kind of like this one here. It's a little bit bent in, but it's looking halfway decent. Alright, so it has been a couple moments. I don't 100% remember where I left off. Been a couple weeks. But anyways, I know what we didn't show off is that line there. We added that one on for a little extra support. So we're kind of now to the point that we need to kind of come up with how we're attaching the rest of the fenders. So I've got a good idea of what I'm going to do to that front part. So I may as well get myself started on that and show you what it's kind of looking like. Alright, so I got the press out, and that allowed us to press in some of these guys. We got 4 of those, just simple 2x4, and then we took a piece of the bar stock that we were using, the square tube, and we just hammered it in, so we got a stack. So yeah, that'll work out pretty nice. We'll see where I can find my hole punch, so then we can just rosette weld these things to the bottom of our fenders, and we will be set. Isn't that nice? Alright, so for sheet metal fabrication, definitely one of my favorite tools, the old puncheroonie. That way we can just slap these guys on and give them a good zap. That way if we ever have to move these brackets again, there's only those zap welds that we need to grind out instead of grinding out the whole bracket. Alright. We could also just rivet them on as well. That's an idea too. Alright. We are going for the rivet method. Mainly because it's easy and I don't want to overheat the area and make all the primer become half worthless. And then we'll drop this guy down, see if there's any tweaking we need. Pretty close. That feels pretty good. Yep. Now we can slap this thing back on the car. And you also see the rod that we have attached to the fender. That way if I ever have to take the fenders off to work on something, these rods won't try to stab me in the face while I'm working on the car. They'll just stab me in the face somewhere else. And this guy should come on down. baby on there. That's on. That's on. And all we gotta do, lock down our lock collar on this guy. We'll dial in the camber for the fender to match the tire. Oh, something like that. And that gives us a fender. And that's actually pretty sturdily held on. So all we need to do next is come in with some sort of clamp thing, which I think I'm going to use something similar to what I did with the fenders on the trailer. Just get some little mini clamps and just clamp it in. And then we should be set. It'll be just a tiny bit jank, but I don't think it's much to deal with or worry about on this thing. So yeah. Get our clamps figured out and we'll be done. Alright, so I just riveted the fender on. Got that little clamp there. Welded the other piece onto the bracketry there. So that way I can just line it up. There we go. Line it up, snap it in, and we're mounted. This thing's not really going anywhere. So that's going to be pretty nice. I'll have to do a little modification of some things, but all in all, that's looking pretty good. Fenders aren't going anywhere, so we can move on to other things and hope for the best. Ain't that nice? Alright, so that's basically it. We got fenders. They're not going anywhere unless we smash into something. But they're still not going anywhere. Anyways, that's going to be it for today. We got these guys on. We got them all clamped down. And we're good to go. So, I guess our next spot, I'm probably going to have to weld the mounts for the seat belt. Then we might be able to take this thing out for a quick little test drive before we start tackling the other sections of body and such. So, that will be fun. Anyways, thanks for stopping by and watching. Hopefully, we'll see you again later.